In today's Makeup Story Time, I will be talking about how I was diagnosed with Autism Spectrum Disorder. I used to make a lot of videos about life on the autism spectrum, but I never really went into detail about how and when I was diagnosed. I think my parents started to notice the signs when I was either 3 or 4. They didn't know it was autism, but they noticed something was off. They noticed how I wouldn't interact with other children during playtime. My teachers at school noticed this too. My mom used to babysit some kids who would come over and play every day. She and my dad noticed I would play near the kids, just not with them. I had my own toys and imaginary games I would play on my own. I thought nothing of it. Sometimes I would try to play with the other kids, but if I couldn't play a certain way, it was wrong. I wasn't trying to be bossy, I just wasn't used to being different. School was often a nightmare. Teachers couldn't connect with me or understand me. I couldn't understand what they wanted from me. I thought I was completely normal, and everyone else was just mean. There were maybe a couple of girls who understood me better than anyone, but not many. I'll never forget those girls. But there were a lot of days I would try to pretend I was sick, just so I wouldn't have to go to school. My parents just didn't understand what I was going through, and I couldn't even tell them why, because I didn't know what was wrong either. I didn't realize I was different. Finally, a diagnosis came when I was 6. A doctor who specialized in working with children and special needs gave me the diagnosis. But it wasn't until I was about 10 or 11 years old that my parents told me that I had Asperger Syndrome, which is what it was formerly called, but not anymore. But that's a whole other story for later. Now I refer to it as Autism Spectrum Disorder, or ASD for short. I thought at first that nothing was wrong. I just thought I was normal and everyone else was not nice. Other than a couple girls who I'm still friends with today. As I got older and became a tween, I started realizing that I was different. Fitting in at school was hard. Recess wasn't fun because there were many times I was alone. I didn't do a lot of things with anyone other than listen to music and sing. Music was comfort to me. I carried my CD player everywhere with me. There were many times my parents and teachers tried to take it away from me because I carried it around too much. I understand why now, but it was hard to socialize with others, so I was alone and desperate without it, so it only made things worse. Bullying was bad, because even though I was bullied for my music taste, I couldn't let go of my CD player. It was hard to let go of my music, even if I was being bullied for it. How do you deal with being made fun of for something that brings you comfort? That's why every day I would look forward to coming home so I could turn on much music or some recorded VHS tapes of music videos and concerts, and I could just sing, dance, and forget how terrible the outside world was. Britney Spears, Hilary Duff, Aaron Carter, and Miley Cyrus were my favorites. I swore I was going to marry Aaron Carter one day. So when my mom was able to get tickets to see him when he came to Canada, you can imagine how excited I was. I could hardly believe my luck when I met him 10 years later. But ever since that concert, I knew that singing professionally was exactly what I wanted to do. The image I had in my mind of who I wanted to be like was a mix of Britney Spears and Hilary Duff. I'm thankful that never happened, though. I can only imagine how awful I probably would have been treated. Then, I turned to rock music. When I was in high school, I actually became friends with some guys who were in a band. I went to a bunch of their shows and bought their music and their merch. They even got signed to a major label, and I got to be in their first music video. They were my heroes and my best friends. But then, the bullying started to get bad from some of the band members' friends. To make things short, their egos grew and they became jerks. I got picked on at school relentlessly. I was being called a groupie and a stalker, all because this group of guys changed my life for the better. Kids are so cruel. That's just one of the many bullying stories that made school a nightmare at times. I remember when I was performing in a couple of school talent shows, when I finished my performance, I got a lot of boos from some mean people in the crowd. It was really heart-wrenching, and it made me feel really, really crushed. When music was something that wasn't in the cards anymore, I turned to makeup. I got interested in makeup through my love of performing. I watched tutorials on YouTube, and I went to school for makeup artistry and cosmetic management, so my YouTube videos started to focus on beauty. Things are still tough today, but I try my best to always keep my head up and move forward. I met someone I absolutely love who loves me back. I have a new business I'm working on. I live in my own apartment where I cook, clean, and take care of my animals. I think I have accomplished a lot in my young life, even though I feel like I haven't achieved everything I wanted. You'll meet people, you'll make friends, you'll lose friends. You may find you hate the job you thought you always wanted. When one door closes, a window opens. The biggest lesson I learned these past 2 years is expect to be disappointed, because that way you won't be disappointed. I got too excited for things to happen, only to be disappointed later when they didn't. If it takes longer than you planned to get somewhere in life, that's okay. You're right where you need to be. Everything will fall into place.